Hi. Hello. Hello. Hi. I'm live. Hi. Alicia Lore, Ages, Nikki, Callie, Do, so many friends, so many lovely humans. Uh, Welcome. um, uh, yeah. um, I Hi. I have very little words this morning, apparently, other than hi and welcome and all of those things. But that's okay. Um, I don't always need words, right? And I'm just trying to have very minimal words today, in general, maybe because I have many things floating around inside of my skull. Lots of things on the mind. So today's stream is just going to be very chill. Um, I don't think I'm going to be doing any analysis uh, because I have a pretty firm time that I need to leave because I'm going to hang out with a friend. Um, and yeah, yeah. It's my birthday. It's my birthday yesterday, but yes, today is the birthday stream, which is part number two of reasons that I'm not uh, reasons that I'm not doing anything particularly mentally intensive on today's stream. I will probably be reading a bunch of my poetry, because y'all often express interest in hearing my words. I wrote a piece on my Substack yesterday on my actual factual birthday, um, kind of going through a bunch of my poetry from the last year. I kind of went through, just to look at how my year was kind of in poetry. And I won't necessarily read all of those pieces because I don't actually like all of them, but I will probably just go through my Obsidian today and just look at my poems and read some and talk about stuff. And uh, I've been having a lot of ideas for things to do with this channel, this platform, this place that we occupy together. Um, so maybe I'll sort of talk about some of those things as well. Um, I might talk a little bit about my workshop that's happening in a couple days. That's part of that whole thing. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Thank you all. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, I've been meaning to read that. Yeah, I think do it's a fine piece. It's a bit of a ramble. There are like 12 poems in it, which is kind of nice, I guess, if you want to read my poetry. I would say the actual content of my little commentary in between is pretty slapdash, but uh, you know, I also post lots of things on the Substack, and I think it's probably worth people's time to read some of that stuff. Um, Lotus, I'm going out to make friends for the first time in 10 years. That's really exciting. What are you doing to go out and make friends, Callie? Uh, I I feel like I haven't made. I mean, I can think about in the last year. I made a number of friends. I guess because I joined a band, and I meet people at poetry things, that I've made. I make friends sometimes, right? Uh, but uh, generally, I think I do very little to try to actively make friends. So That's a very exciting thing to be doing. Callie, going and actually like making friends. That's a very cool thing. I think that's dope, actually. Um, yeah, yeah. um, so I got a bunch of books. I was given many books for my birthday, and uh, maybe I also will show you all these books. What genre is your band? Me and my friends are deathcore and mathcore. Okay, that's super cool, Reese, that you're in a death slash mathcore. So is that like math rock, metalcore together? Is that kind of like what we're talking about? My band is generally punk. Uh, our our I would say we have very little direction on where we fall within punk. uh, because I think like our drummer and our bassist are really like hardcore punk heads, and that kind of thing. And then our uh, you know, I'm a saxophonist, and we have like this sort of ska influence happening. And then our lead singer um, certainly wants to do punk and like Riot Girl stuff, but then also has some like indie influence. And one of our guitarists is a big like indie folk head. So we have a lot of different artistic uh, inspiration, and I would say we sometimes lack a little bit of focus. But we're also pretty new. And, our band in its current iteration with me in it, I'm the most recent member to join. I've only been in the band for 3 months, so we're still figuring things out. And the band only had existed for a year before that. Um, but we're recording soon. We are, in fact, recording soon, which means in the near-ish future, the world will be able to listen to Quit Your Whinin' on streaming services and hear our excellent punk music, hopefully with the saxophone mixed such that you all can hear me. Happy birthday! Thank you, Cizik. It is my birthday. Yesterday was my birthday. Um, and it was a reasonably happy birthday. It's funny because it's sort of been like a really good year, and life has been really good. And then yesterday actually kind of sucked, because I've been stressing about poetry workshop and jazz gig, that are coming up on Friday and Saturday, and I just have this really busy like 4 days in a row. Um, and it's like uh the busiest I've been in a long time having all this stuff. So yesterday was actually sort of unpleasant, but I've kind of locked in now. I feel a little bit better. I read a bit of the Tao, which is usually a good way to calm down. One of the books I was gifted on my birthday is a copy of the Tao. This is one of my favorite books ever. I've read it a couple times in like digital copies, but I haven't owned a physical. Um, and I think this is the most important book of philosophy. Period. Um, uh, and it's a really good book. So I'm glad I have that. I read it, helped me kind of lock the fuck in, or lock the fuck out, I guess, is maybe more how the Tao operates. But I don't feel nearly as stressed now, which is good. Callie, I'm going to I don't even know what it is. It's a building, a big building with people in it who hang out and meditate and summon primordial gods. So I would say, that sounds dope. First of all, I don't know what it means to summon primordial gods. I don't necessarily believe that gods are something that can be summoned uh, in like a literal sense. I mean, we can summon like the notion of gods in our minds, and I guess if you're meditating, that's probably something that can happen. I think Do is maybe very reasonable in asking if that's a cult. They said no. I trust them. Oh, so definitely not a cult, right? Right. If they tell you they're not a cult, that means they're not a cult, right? Um, because I've definitely pulled up to cult meetings, and they've definitely said, "Hey, I know this looks kind of culty, but we're just chill. We're just meditating, you know." And I definitely got pretty close to like being ingratiated into that cult um, one time. And then there was this creepy man involved in this cult, and I decided that it wasn't for me because he was looking at me like I was a piece of meat. So so I dodged that bullet. Thank you, creepy man, for keeping me from accidentally joining a Buddhist cult. I like cults who say they're cults straight up, right? Like I think if you know and you want to be doing cult stuff, like just like go for it, right? Um, I think the issue is, I mean, those people are chill, right? And I think you're right because if you're trying to do nefarious things and attract people, right? Um, you you want to, make sure your cult is like reasonable and marketable and doesn't look like a cult. If you want to attract the innocent, um, to do nefarious things. But if you're not doing anything nefarious and you say you're a cult, it's like totally a vibe, right? Um, and I feel like the nefarious people don't say they're a cult because then it sort of prevents them from doing their nefarious things. um, I used to be a young Earth creationist. I only realized like 10 years ago that science is real, and now I'm atheist agnostic. That sounds like um, quite the journey. Uh, so I have like an interesting young Earth creationism story uh, because I went to a Lutheran high school, an incredibly evangelical, incredibly faith based Christian high school. And like we had like a whole class, like 1/8 of our schedule was faith class where we'd learn about the Bible and stuff, and we'd have like chapel once a week, and there'd be like prayer. It's like some teachers would just start their class with prayer. um I learned how to like do a Christian devotion and stuff. I can really well like vibe my way through like a fake hour and a half sermon if I really wanted to, probably. Because it's really fun to bullshit religion. But as in science class, in freshman year of high school, and we have the unit on like evolution because this is like biology, right? And and so we had this like weird thing where Mr. what was his name? He had this name that was like Mr. like word Christian like word, something along the lines of like Mr. Faith, but it wasn't that. Um, what was this guy's name? I don't remember, and it's probably good that I don't remember because it's slipping away from me, and that's nice. Um, anyway, so we're sitting in class, and he basically says, "So I have to teach you all about like the scientific version of evolution, but we're also going to include two Christian theories of creation and the earth and all of that. So he like taught about science and the fossil record or whatever, so the school doesn't get like audited for like just straight up not teaching science. Um, and then he teaches us about like old Earth creationism and young Earth creationism, right? And it was just so miserable, right? And we had to do these like little like presentation posters on like different theories for life originating on Earth. So everyone was doing their posters on creationism and like the weird Christian justifications for creationism, like that molecule that's shaped like a cross. Um, and I made my poster about like panspermia and life maybe coming to Earth on an asteroid. Bronze Age mythology science. That's right. And then we had this debate in class where like the class was split in three, uh, into three camps of science, young Earth creation, old Earth creation, and we had this like mock debate about it. And I lucked into the evolution camp, and I would say as a freshman, I absolutely punked on my fellow students, absolutely eviscerated the positions of my Christian peers. Um, yeah, that was good. Another thing that happened in faith class, I think about this one a lot actually, is like I was always a really good student. I was like a straight A extra credit kind of student in every class, regardless, including faith class. And so I show up, it's like sophomore year. I'm like doing all the assignments. I probably have the highest grade in the class because I'm trying to be like valedictorian or whatever. Um, I left that school though, so didn't do that. Um, and then so apparently like my real capacity to understand the stories of the Bible convinced my teacher that I was Christian. Because I think, you just assume that everyone at this Christian school is Christian. And if the kid is doing well in Christianity class, like they're probably very faithful, right? Um, and so we get to like the first test. And we were having this unit about Jesus because it was New Testament class. And and we had this whole like section of that, who is Jesus, and it was all this stuff about Jesus, very Jesus, history of Jesus in the Gospels. um and and so the question at the end of the test, it was an open answer. Who is Jesus was the question on like the end of this test for like you know a quarter of this grade, right? And I I just I was like, dude, I was really cynical. So I was like, Jesus is like this like cult leading like con man, da 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 da. But then I also like kind of wove in all of the things from the unit to just like demonstrate my understanding of the material. Um, and it's funny because I got the grade back, I got the test back, and the teacher is like, they're kind of like, you can see as they're reading through. My first line is like, Jesus is a fraud, and it's like question mark. And then I keep writing and it's like, what? Question mark. And then like halfway through, because like I'm pretty sure this just like baffled the teacher that I wasn't a Christian. And then halfway through, there's a note on the side of the page that's like, like praying for you. Um, and like, I hope you find faith. And I got a good grade on the essay because I included all the material that we were taught, while saying that I didn't believe in it at all. And I that that's my That's entirely unrelated from the cult that I almost joined. It was a Buddhist cult, not a Christian cult. Um, but that was fun. Um, I did not like that place. Oh God, I hate class debates. Yeah. At any point did it come up that Jesus was not white? I don't remember it being like overtly taught, like, and I'm pretty sure we had depictions around the school of the white Jesus. Like we definitely never had like brown Arab Jesus anywhere, in the school. So, I would say, you know, and I don't think I really would have brought it up at the time. And I wasn't at the point in my political thought of bringing up like Jesus was a socialist either, or like, Jesus, all of these things. And I didn't like have, I mean, I understood queerness and queer community coming from California, but I didn't like consider myself among queer people. So I didn't really like lean into all of that. I was pretty like, uh, you know, I wasn't super overt about my atheism most of the time. I disagree, but then again, I love debating overall. Yeah, I liked debating. I liked feeling intellectually powerful over people. I no longer enjoy that. Hi Marissa, thank you for the bits. And thank you for the happy birthday. It is one, and classics are ace. Welcome in as well, and thank you. Um, yeah, debating was definitely something I enjoyed in high school. I briefly did mock trial, and really enjoyed that. And then I stopped doing it because it like conflicted with music or whatever. Um, and yeah, I feel like I was like really close to a world where I went in like the debate Model UN mock trial direction and really like found my love for words earlier. But I found my love for music first, and then, language came later with poetry 3 years ago, right? Jesus wasn't Hitler Youth? No, Catholic. Unfortunately not. To to burst your bubble. um, an opposing group of students once laughed at my sister during a debate on palliative sedation and willing because she brought up that our mom was terminally ill. Yeah, that sounds really hard. School can be a very like troubling environment, right? Um, like where people like laugh at shit and make fun of shit, and it's not definitely not like always healthy and supportive, right? Um, Nikki accidentally started a cult. I missed a bunch of these messages because I totally like um, got locked in on the whole cult Christianity thing, which is okay. I can always scroll up and chat. Um, I'm curious about the cult you almost accidentally started, Nikki. That's really interesting. I was told in college a lot, that I had like cult vibes and like cult leader vibes. Um, I because I would like walk around barefoot and like talk about Buddhism and detachment and like climb trees and had this long hair and would sort of wear like very naturey type clothing. Um, but I don't know how one like accidentally uh, gets there. That's a compliment, no based. Yeah, that was an interesting time. Honestly, I still get people bringing me their trauma. Maybe because I'm just very gentle with it. Yeah, I mean, I find that being a gentle person and having when people like, oh, I see, you had a way of making people feel better. That's your cult. People like talking about their trauma. I see. So you had a trauma cult. Um, yeah, I mean, I think when you're gentle, there are some people who I think just speak in a way that feels like, oh, I can trust this person. I can sort of put my feelings in their direction. And especially like right when those kinds of people don't know how to make those kinds of boundaries, right? To say like, hey, I need to not have your trauma dumped on me right now. Uh, it can get pretty like bad, right? That and the atom bomb debate the week after I returned from Japan, having visited the Hiroshima Museum, just taught me that high schoolers are not ready for arguing their opinions. Yeah, high schoolers are dumb. Like, I was a dumb high schooler and I argued about shit that I just, like, it was not formulated, it was not intelligent, it was not helpful. You know, I think if we're arguing at all, we should be arguing, like, for a very good reason. Um, Arguing in debate, uh, I don't think should be like a normal form of interacting with people. I love discussion, uh, and I think I don't know, to also maybe to like teach high schoolers like that in some way teaches a high schooler that they should have a strong opinion on something, and maybe that's good. Like people should have strong opinions. Um, but I think oftentimes like school teaches in that way to like have a strong opinion without having a very like critical approach to getting that opinion, where I feel like in high school people will like choose their stance and then research it, or like and there's very little um there's often little like really strong support of like critical thinking and like coming to these conclusions in a healthy way, right, and that can be uh pretty bad. My message is all the way up there. I'm gonna have to grab it and put it down here. Yeah, pretty much. Um, that's how it is. My little brother thought he knew all there was to know in the world by the time he was 14. Yeah, that's how I was as a 16-year-old, I would say. I mean, probably 15, 16. Um, I was like, I had these really calcified opinions. I was very like nihilistic. I was very cynical. I hated the world. Um, I, sort of believed that I could just like play music my whole life and not think about anything else and not be critical of anything else. Um, I I was always very smart, so I was kind of like enabled, um, in that like my whole life I'd heard that I was smart and I was correct and I knew things. Um, and that was very, very bad, right? And like the academic accolades and the musical accolades and the GPA and like the ease with which I learned things and did school was really like probably bad, because I did have this sort of um, some sort of ego, some sort of complex about it, you know. Um, oh yeah, that message, Callie. I did see that one and not read it. I got bullied for my good grades and winning personality. Usually, a winning personality would help me to get friends, but trust me, it was everyone else who sucked. I mean, I feel like, I mean, maybe I don't know. Um, Getting bullied for good grades is tough. Gifted kid syndrome is a real thing. Yeah, I definitely am like one of those prime examples of burnt out gifted kid. And then I've obviously healed from that burnout now and shifted in this like art direction. Uh where I was just always like multiple grades ahead in math and reading. I you know, was a national merit scholar, right? 1520 SAT. Um, uh, College, full ride, music, all state, first chair, whatever. Um, And then I like got to college and just realized like I didn't know why I was there, didn't know what I was doing. I had just been like coasting the whole way. And it's not that college got hard, although music school was very intense. I just like it dawned on me, and I'm like, um, like why? Like what am I doing? Because I like really bought into that narrative of college and this like direction and then job, and once I started realizing like one, like no career prospects as a classical saxophonist, like um two, like this is not fulfilling. This is maybe something I never like critically thought about, right? Um yeah. So then I burnt out, really, really struggled, tried to go back to college, struggled again, left college again, and then started a poetry Twitch stream that is slowly coming to be. um, yeah. Not gonna trauma dump any further, but I mean, it's an interesting conversation too. My history teacher pulled me aside after class that day because I apparently scared a student and needed to tone down the imagery. My response was, "Okay. Are they okay? Sorry." Well, that's good. But my heart and mind went good, and I think that's also good. Um, yeah. I mean, yeah. Like some historical things are really not, like, really the only way to teach some historical things is through like the shock and the horror and the pain of them. I think you can't understand something like Hiroshima, you can't understand something like the Holocaust, or all the other things that were happening during that time, or even like the US wars in the Middle East, the sort of interventions in South and Central America, like a lot of these things, the colonization, the slaughter of Native Americans. Uh, these things really can only be understood through like, this was a horrible, disturbing, awful thing, and you need to understand that, right? And it hurts, because otherwise, like, I think you miss the point. Um, yeah. I think we've talked about it before, but I was informed years after high school that people thought I was intimidating, even though I talked to no one. I mean, maybe that's part of it, right? um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Kids are weird, right? Um, I was a weird case since I feel like I was considered gifted, yet I also kept being held back and sometimes put in special needs because of my dyspraxia. That's interesting, right? That's probably a weird like contrast to be in as a kid, right? Um, I often wonder if my sister could have been if they had discovered her dyslexia earlier. Yeah, the accommodation for disability, the accommodation for um, learning difficulty is quite poor. I'm getting a phone call, but I don't know who it is. Who would it be? Is this the dentist? I think this is the dentist reminding me of my appointment next week. I'm going to answer. Hello? Hello? Maybe it'll be a scammer. I think it's just nothing. There's just nobody on the other side of the phone. That's real tragic. I'm gonna keep talking to this person who's not on the other side of the phone. Hello, no one on the other side of the phone. Okay, I'm done. Um, uh, yeah. Um, yeah. The thing I read in high school that I highly recommend is There Will Come Soft Rains by Ray Bradbury, and the speech I Will Fight No More Forever by Chief Joseph. I have never read, consumed, engaged with either of these texts. So I will look into both of them maybe. Maybe in fact I will. Um, there will come soft rains. Why am I getting? Oh, that's Wikipedia. A science fiction short story. Chronicle lone house stands. Obliterated nuclear bomb. Interesting. I will fight no more forever. Uh, by Chief Joseph. I mean, probably pretty like anti-fighting. Hi Arson. Hi, or Asher. You're Asher. That's your name. Welcome. Hello. Hi. Um, I got some new books today, or yesterday, which is exciting. Including we talked about this on stream, A Raisin in the Sun. I believe you recommended that, Nikki, when we were talking about Langston Hughes. And I've been wanting for a long time to like read more plays, read more theater. I think it'd be really cool to like write something like that someday. So I have another play to go on my shelf with the other plays that I haven't read, because I have Chekhov plays and I have Ibsen plays and I have like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. I want to read Waiting for Godot. That one's pretty short, I think. I don't have that. Anyway, another play to remind me that I want to read plays. Um, so I'll let you know what I think, Nikki, when I read this one. Did you have a good birthday? So yesterday was my actual factual literal birthday. I would say it was like a sort of um, a sort of mediocre day. I didn't really do anything. I like I woke up, I wrote a little bit. I wrote the thing that I put on my Substack, which was nice to write and think about the last year. Um, I kind of like called a friend, but like not really like any of my very close friends. It was just sort of like a more distant friend that I just needed to call someone. And I happened to be talking to them on Discord. Um, like they didn't even know it was my birthday until I told them. And then after that, I like went out on a bike ride and I just kind of biked around. And then I found this big, there's this like big kind of water reservoir thing that this big wash kind of drains into, that is, normally empty of water because I live in the desert. Um, and but it's very like lush and green because all the water drains there, and it has these big like kind of concrete stone steps that the water comes down when it rains. And I went and I biked out there and I just kind of sat on those big concrete steps, and it kind of felt like this giant like amphitheater, and I was the only one there. I think it would actually be really cool to try to like um, go get some people together and like do some poetry thing out there, and have that be the venue of this giant desert wash amphitheater. Um, or it would be like a cool place to like shoot a music video. So I sat out there and I thought and I wrote, and then I came back and me and my family went out for ice cream, which was nice, except I was sort of already at the point of being super stressed out about the poetry workshop that I was a bit like dissociated. I did have a panic attack when I got home, a very small panic attack, not a very severe one. Um, but I was sort of like dissociated while we were eating ice cream, and then like um, we were sitting and talking, right? Um, at this place where we got ice cream, and then I think like my sister just sort of like stands up as like the uh okay, it's time to leave. And I wasn't necessarily sure that I wanted to like just be done uh sitting with my family on my birthday at that point, so that kind of felt like it was cut short in some capacity. Um but it was okay. And I'm just very busy. I'm very stressed, and so it's sort of like It was the wrong week to have my birthday, but it's been good. Um, uh, and yeah. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead is glorious. Okay, good to know. Holy shit, I just reread Soft Rains. Ray Bradbury's prose can gallop across the mind. Incredible story. Okay, I mean, if we're describing it as galloping across the mind, I very well might have to uh, read this. Let me actually paste that into. Um, I have a thing on my computer, on my Obsidian, that's for like book and media recommendations, and usually people recommend me things and I just sort of uh like paste it into my browser, into my search bar, and then if I get to it and remember, then I get to it. But if I if I end up closing the tab, it usually gets lost, right? And that's usually a problem. So I've been trying to do better about like preserving the media recommendations I am given, because there's a lot. Uh, and I don't like forgetting things, right? If someone takes the time to be like, oh, I think you might like this thing, right? I think you might enjoy this. Um, I would like to check that out, because that means a lot to me that someone would say like, oh, here's this bit of knowledge that you might find valuable. Um, I appreciate that, right? Um, do I have a PO box? I do not have a PO box. If you're trying to send me something, um, uh, like you can probably just reach out, and like I think most of the people who are regulars on stream, I'm fine with like giving my address if you're trying to like send me a book or something. Um, I I don't think I'm like I don't think there's enough of you trying to send me things to warrant paying for a PO box right now. Um, if there is continued interest in that, um, I definitely will consider. Um, I'm probably most inclined to get a PO box once the amount of money I make from stream can pay for the PO box, because then it just sort of, you know, is self-sustaining. And stream I make about, I don't know, like $40 a month, so it's not a ton, right? um, yeah, so there's that. But in time, I think if that's something that y'all are interested in, I'll definitely think about that. Because I know it's something the streamers do, and I think it's cool, right? Like, I will definitely take books if you want to send me things, right? You know? Um, well, thank you for, you resubscribed. I appreciate that, Catholic. Um, Maybe that will help toward the PO box fund. But thank you. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I imagine you have a bunch of books. You may need some more, guys. I have so many books. I I think I probably have, I don't know, at least 200 books in my bedroom right now. Um, I have like a full bookcase, which is actually what my computer is sitting on right now. Um, that's like this wide and has like two shelves, and they are full of books. There's a shelf up there that has maybe 40, 30 books on it. There's the poetry books over there and the finished books, which is like another 50 books. Um, Enough books doesn't exist. Right. Until you're crushed by your TBR. You can never have enough books. Yeah. Um, I have a bookcase on my windowsills and the bathroom. That's pretty awesome. Books should just be in every room, right? Um, if I ever own a house, if I ever own my own domicile, uh, I would like to have a living room that resembles a library where like the entire walls are just shelves and all full of books, like a real personal library, um, and then maybe like pieces of art as well. Um, that would be beautiful. As this house, hardwood, big, super squishy vintage furniture, incense in every room, candles, um, carpet, like rugs, not carpet, rugs, um, like kind of everywhere. Lots of rugs, but not entirely covering it because you need to know that the hardwood is there. Um, and in this like library living room, or maybe there's another space, just some place with a big circle of like couches and a big table in the middle, the kind of place you could play a big game of D&D or have like a bunch of people over to um, sit around and eat food and share space and share poetry. Um, I would like to live in a house that can serve as a community space for other people, you know. Um, I think about this. I think about this, obviously. Um, but, you know, don't have that now. But I do approximate for that coziness by sleeping in a fort in the corner of my room instead of on a bed. I have like carpet and pillows on the floor, and it's like this nest, and then it has a blanket over the top as a canopy. And one wall of the fort is this bookcase that's under the computer right now. So it's like I have a library in there. It's my sort of miniaturized version of that. Um, I think it's very whimsical. Way more comfortable than a bed, personally. But I'm also like flexible and have good joints, and I've slept in hammocks and enjoyed that, and I can sleep on the floor, and I can kind of sleep wherever. So might not be the best for everyone, right? Um, yeah. Books. Other books that I was given for my birthday on this auspicious year. Um, Desert Solitaire by Edward Abbey. Um, I read a biography of Edward Abbey before I read any of his things because I was given the biography at Christmas, and I thought that I'm like, man, why am I reading this biography? I want to just read his actual books. This is sort of like considered a pretty important like nature writing environmentalist book, but really it's about this guy Edward Abbey, sort of crazy dude from Arizona who just like went out and lived in the desert for a lot of his life. Um, Very compelled by that since I want to bike across the country at some point and, you know, nature, wander alone, have my desert solitaire, right? Um, so I'm excited by this book. I think it might be bad for me because if I read it and I get all stoked about biking out into the desert, I'm not really in like a good spot in my life to like disappear for a year, um, or 6 months or 3 months because I have like this band and I have Stream, which is awesome and it's still growing, and I'm like doing these poetry workshops and stuff. I have all these engagements, so you know, at some point, I need to figure out how to just say, okay, everything's on hold for 6 months. Well, I'm in Georgia, and you know where that is. I do know where Georgia is. I've hosted dozens of poets. That's really cool. That'd be kind of fun if I started to make friends all around the country, so that I could just bike and like pull up. um, that would be cool. That's the cool thing about a digital community, right? Is you can have connection in so many different places, and there's this like possibility at a certain point of like you can go anywhere and kind of know someone. Um, and I mean, like Twitch, like knowing someone is sort of slightly removed, but um, yeah. I really feel like we need more Lord Byron poetry retreats. I'm not familiar with Lord Byron's capacity to retreat on poetry. Uh, I, I am not familiar. But I do think like entirely like going out in one's lonesome into nature is probably like a compelling way to get some new perspectives on poetry, and I would probably do a lot of writing on that kind of bicycle excursion, right? Because it's so much time to notice, and it's so much time to like be still, and just like appreciate stuff. But I need money for that. So the plan is, stream, teach workshops, do music gigs, save up some money, uh, disappear for a while. Hopefully, maybe before then, like publish a book. I don't know, and then disappear, and then come back and be rejuvenated or something. He used to host retreats at his estate where people like the Shelleys would hang out, inspire each other, and write. That's awesome. When I have a house, I didn't know he did that. When I have a house, this is like when, unlikely in the modern age. Um, Man, I would love to do that, right? Just have people and just say like, yeah, people are welcome to come stay, and there are extra rooms, and this is a place of art and creation, and um, obviously that means being a great artist first and being someone inspiring enough that other people would want to come into my presence, uh, and certainly not there in the present. But that would be an incredibly cool thing to do. I do think we need more of those. I think the modern writing retreat where like you and a bunch of people go someplace and you pay a bunch of money for it and it's sort of like nice and maybe there's some writer there is like cool, but it's not very like personal. And I think these things can probably be better accomplished uh, through community and through just having people in a close knit space who want to hang out together, right? I think that's better. Uh, Watched a film about him. That's cool. Frankenstein is proud. Yeah. Europe is great for those things because a ton of these old remade small castles where you can just stay for like a week. Yeah, and I mean that's very cool as well. Um, right? To um, to like rent a place and hang out. Um, but yeah, it would also be cool to like have a space that belongs to oneself or belongs to a group of people, um, where that can happen. There's this YouTuber, um, this sort of political satire comedy YouTuber named Dreg or J Reg, um, who is like really like hyper ironic, uh, very like very like young millennial, old Gen Z kind of stuff, and he has created this like space, uh, like a community around himself, where he's based out of, which is like Toronto, where he has like a dozen other YouTubers or something, and they are like all in on this shared collective workspace, where they kind of like create together and share resources and do this very like communal artistic inspiration kind of third space thing. And that's very inspiring to me. I think these things are uh, pretty sick, right? And I would love to, in my life, in some way, like facilitate a space like that for people to gather and create art and work together and to host people and all of that. Something that um, um, yeah, where people of all artistic disciplines and interests and ages and types of people can like create art. That'd be excellent, right? I have spare rooms, and a baby was literally born upstairs. Her middle name is Poesia. That's awesome. Poesia is a great middle name. Well, maybe you work on that. I certainly am interested in those kinds of conversations. I think like digital spaces of community are very valuable. Physical spaces of community are simply unmatched, right? By the online. It spawned from a ghost story contest, Frankenstein. That makes sense. The Year Without a Summer happened in 1816. Yeah, I mean, no, it seems incredibly inspiring to me to just like for an extended period of time have a space to be around other people who are creating incredible, cool, beautiful, awesome things that isn't like the academic MFA program or whatever, that is truly open to anyone, that is not this like prohibitively expensive program. Um, because I mean, art is so much more powerful and the artistic process is so much better when it involves other people in proximity. And I've honestly had very little opportunity to like be in those kinds of spaces and really like engage with other artists on like that level of collaborative creation. Um, like I think the modern day open mic is not very effective because people kind of go and they share their work, but you don't have this sort of community of people trying to create together. These things are very inspiring to me. Um, Sort of something interesting, somewhat relating to this with Stream and with our you know community here. Well, two things, right? Two things. One reason I really dig your collage night, yeah. And I actually have a friend who hosts like physical collage nights sometimes, and those are really really great. Um, Two things for this stream. One is I realized last night, right, that I'm teaching this poetry workshop, right, on Friday for people in person and all of that. And I probably like I've made the workshop, right? I've created the lesson, the things, all of that. And I realized at some point I should teach that online and like either use Twitch or use our Discord server might actually be a better setting for a workshop because then people can kind of talk and interact. And that'd be nice because like y'all in chat can't necessarily like speak to each other except through chat. Um, all of that. Uh, so I want to start like actually doing like a free poetry workshop where I have like a planned out thing to teach for some amount of time uh, that I do as well. Um, and I don't know if that would be like a monthly or a every 2 months or a whenever I have a workshop, but it would also mean that I'm like writing more workshops and creating more of this stuff that I can reuse elsewhere and kind of teach to people when I get invited to something like this workshop that I'm teaching in a few days. I think it would also be really cool to that end if other people in this community, right, charge workshop fees. No, I never want to charge for people to learn from me. If people want to give, right, that's always encouraged. That's sort of like the Twitch model. Like everyone can watch the stream. You can subscribe if you want, right? And that's slower. That's maybe more difficult to grow and build and like make money. But I'm financially stable right now. I'm supported by my parents, so I have the privilege to at least do that in that way right now, and that feels more genuine to me. And like when I teach a workshop at like the poetry festival, they do pay me, so that's a way to make money, right? But I would also be super open if I start doing that on the Discord, for the Discord to function as a space for other people to host those things. That's sort of, to me, it seems an unconventional way to use a Discord, where usually a Discord is like, this is my Discord for my channel where I do things. But the idea of a Discord as a space where other people could also kind of like teach their stuff might be interesting. This is a thought I've had. I would certainly be open to that. I'm almost certainly going to start teaching free workshops on my own. And then if other people want to get in on that, then, I'm not going to stop y'all. But that might be weird for people doing that within my community, within like my space. I'm not sure. That's thought number one, right? For maybe things in the coming year of this channel. The other is I think I want to do another Poets of Twitch. Maybe not all of you are familiar with Poets of Twitch, but it's a zine we did last year. That is an anthology of people from stream. So it has a bunch of people from chat published, right? Callie is in here. Do is in here, right? Do is in here earlier. I'm in here. Maytari, who's been around. Some of these people aren't so much like around on stream anymore. But I'd like to do another one of these. I think that might be a enjoyable project for this summer. Which is always very fun. It means I get to like support you all, because I paid everyone who contributed to that zine, a small amount, $25. We do our best. I'd like to do another one of those, and that involves a whole submission process, and then kind of reading those poems on stream, and then actually me formatting and editing the zine, which was incredibly fun and also difficult, and I kind of burnt out on it last time, but might be something we do again. These are thoughts for the future of this stream, which is exciting. I think the workshop thing particularly excites me, and that's something I very much want to do. You're down, Nikki? All right. That's dope. Yeah. So that's kind of a cool thing. And you know, more of the same, right? More of the analysis, more of the reading well-known poems, more of the collage streams. Uh, yeah, I'd like to keep expanding it and keep doing adding things, right, until it truly reaches like a stable capacity where I'm like doing as much as I want to be doing with stream and the community and all of that. Which is cool, right? Yeah. There's a lot though, right? I'm also like applying to fellowships and applying, like sending my poetry to journals. I'm doing a lot, but I also think like that's the value of like trying to bring in other people and making some of these things a community effort, right? If there are other people, even people who've never taught a workshop before, who want to try their hand at teaching a workshop within our Discord server, right? This collectively uplifts everyone and distributes the growth of the community onto multiple people doing things to make it better and to make it more valuable for everyone. And that's something, I think that's really something I want to think about with stream, is like, how can I create aspects of it that make it feel more almost decentralized, I guess, from myself. Because I don't like the fact that, you know, stream is like, I go, like, the extent of stream and this community is really like, I go live, follow notification comes up in the Discord. It's a place people can share their writing. And like mostly is about just like people watching me at specific times. I think there's immense value in broadening it beyond that, right? And shifting towards something more, you know, communal. So that being said, if my rambling about all of that has anyone, you know, having ideas or things you want to do or that kind of thing, you know, DM me or whatever, because that stuff all really compels me. Yeah. I also two other poetry collections for my birthday. These are by a guy named W.S. Piero. He's a professor at Stanford. He teaches poetry, and he's from San Francisco. I'm going to be reading a lot of him because I'm trying to apply to a thing at Stanford, a fellowship where they'll pay me lots of money to show up and write, and I can probably still maintain all like the stream stuff while I do that, which is cool. Yeah, lots to do, lots to read, lots to write, lots to think about. Off to work I go. Thank you for all your streams, shows, and rambles. I hope today goes as well as birthday. Yeah. Thank you for stopping by, dude. I hope you survive work. Have a tolerable time under the sort of crushing weight of modern capitalism. and yeah. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Much appreciated. I feel like I said I was gonna read poetry, some of my poetry, And I feel like it's probably a reasonable juncture to do some of that since uh, we've yapped for a little bit and I still have like a few minutes, some amount of time, an indeterminate amount of time before I decide to end stream and go back to my friend's house, um, to be in community and work and create art. Um, so yeah, I think I will read some of my work maybe. uh, so I'm gonna show you all this. Um, I think my share screen should work. Okay, yeah, here is my screen. Um, Here is my Obsidian. This is my reading recommendations list and all of that. I can't see Twitch chat right now. I wonder if it's fine. I'll just kind of go back and forth between, here's Twitch chat and YouTube chat, and OBS is right here, but it's hidden. So I'll just read stuff and then kind of come back. But the cool thing is, right, here's my poetry section in my Obsidian over here on the left. And I track these I separate it by the journals, the pocket journals that I like write in all the time, right? So where's my notebook right now? Always lose track of it. Is it over there? Notebook, wherefore art thou? I don't think that's what wherefore means. It's not important. It's not really important. I can get a different one because I have many of them. There it is. I found it. Anyway, I keep all my poetry in notebooks. Here's the current one. And I date them, right? And I track which poems I write in each thing. So I end up with, like, I can go back through the year and say, like, this is since, February 20th. And if I go back, right, I can find the notebook that I started March 19th, 2025, which is 1 year ago. So I can sort of see, like, literally my last year in poetry. And that's 45 poems, 21, 19. So that's like 100, 16, 15, 21, 24. So that's like another 100. We're in like 100 and something, like 200 something poems in the last year. If I, expand all of this out. And I lose track of a lot of this stuff, right? Because I just write so much. So it's good sometimes to go back through and look at them, and sort of recap, right? And I always find that like New Year's and birthdays are a really, really good way to sort of review that kind of thing. I'm glad you have writing in hard copies. Yeah, I have hard copies of everything I've written pretty much. I keep all of this, my whole Obsidian, backed up semi-regularly, not regularly enough, into this external drive. And then I have it, as a copy on my computer, which is good. So, and I used to date the poems individually. I don't anymore because it's like, kind of too much work, honestly. Or I don't know why. It's not that much work to put the date on the poem when I write it, right? And this is the poem I wrote a year ago on my birthday, right? March 24th, 2025. And this was called For the First Time in Years, the Past Year Has Not Become the Worst. Because last year, it it was the first year. It was genuinely like the first year in very many years that I wasn't like, wow, this has been the worst year of my life again. Like probably from 2019 to 2024, I would say every year was consistently and consecutively worse than the last. And now, right, so that was kind of the beginning of me like truly being better and healed as a person. Um, and I don't actually like this poem much anymore because I don't know, the rhymes kind of whatever. um, but that's it's kind of cool, right? When you like keep track of all of this stuff that one can go back, that I can go back and look at kind of how I was doing and how I've changed and how my poetry has developed over the year. And that's really, really cool. Industrial Sun, was that in Daughter of Earth? Um, yeah, chest tight and vision swimming. My skin is ice under an industrial sun. My hands quake with terrestrial might. They do not know what they might do. That's that's fun, right? Because everything hurts, even turning the soil and planting anew. My body is renewable, only if I can renew. That's actually a that's nice. I really like this as a small poem. Um, we have this cute like there's some rhyme going on, and then we have like this might, my, right? And then there's this repetition, right? Renewable, renew, uh, anew. It's just kind of dope. I like this. It's not bad. Oftentimes I look back at things and I'm like, this poetry is quite bad. Um, yeah, if there are any titles that stick out, like from these, uh, do let me know and I will read them. Because there's a lot, right? And it's just like this is one of my favorite poems that I've written still, I think. Primrose. Um, and this was actually based on I was sitting drawing a flower that was based on a book that had a drawing of a flower, and that was a primrose. So I was drawing this flower based on this drawing, and then I wrote a poem based on the drawing of the thing, right? And this reminds me of like Baudrillard, simulation and simulacra, right? Where we continually create simulations of something and we grow further and further abstracted from it, or the idea of what's that literary technique where we take something that was and we create new art on top of it that refers to like old like scrolls and stuff. Um, uh, where like it's a word for when you had like an old scroll and they would like write something new on top of the old thing, and now we use it as like a poetic term for things that are like created on top. I don't remember. There's a word for it. Not illusion. It's like it's referring to. Let me see. Uh, uh, piece of art created on top of old art. Right. This is like what it fundamentally is. This is not super useful. Um, there's like a word for it. Actually, I think if I go to Poetry Foundation, then I'd have to search through their whole glossary. Um, uh, I don't think I'm gonna find it. There's a whole specific thing that's like a form of art that involves the creation of things on top of the old. But I don't remember. um, because Eminem happened, Mac Miller could happen later. I'd like to know that word. Yeah, I mean that's like tradition and lineage, right? Of art. It's slightly different. It's referring to like literally physically on top of something old. Hello, Reclusi. Merry birthday. Thank you. Um, it'll come to me, I think. I'm definitely really thinking about this word. Um, Man, I don't know. I don't know. Um, yeah, I like this poem though. Drawings of flowers, like the layers in the rock, or like mothers and daughters, remind me. Getting things right and getting things wrong take time and time again. And I mean, even just like between these two poems, these are two very similar poems actually, right? We have this like duplicity going on that I really love about this poem. This drawings of, this mothers and daughters, this getting things wrong and getting things right, this take time and time again. Um, you know, I like these sort of like pseudo couplets happening within this. I love repetition like this. And I think it's incredibly, incredibly cool. And right, Daughter of Earth is doing the same thing, where we have, um, you know, like even like the Quake and Terrestrial, but we have the do not know, might do, might, terrestrial, might, my, right? These sort of connections happening. Um, and then yeah, a new, renewable, renew, right? My body is only renewable if I can renew. Um, I hold on. This is a good poem. I have a tag in my Obsidian that's just I like this, um, so that I can reference all of like my poems that have been my favorites. And this is actually one that I would totally like consider, maybe with some edits, um, including in like a submission or something, cause or like sharing more often, cause I actually like this one a lot, and that's why it's worthwhile to go back, right? Flowers, daughters, yeah, yeah. Um, my Obsidian is just a mess. Uh, yeah, I try to keep mine decent. There's a lot of like kind of wasted space and like things that I don't use anymore. I don't use this like exercise tab anymore for my rock climbing kind of stuff. Um, oh, that's funny. Um, this is like interesting. Oh, this that poem's interesting. Uh, anyway, like I don't really use the Spanish in my like spaced repetition flashcards. Uh, I had this whole like tasks and like organization for like doing things and like resources and shit, and this was all very contrived. Um, so like a lot of this doesn't really get used anymore. A lot of these like note things, actually the notes are relatively used. Um, I have my note of all the people that I've kissed in my life, which is pretty cool. This includes guy with a broken leg, crow girl, hookup whose name I forgot, various names of individuals. Yeah, I love my Obsidian. I love Obsidian. I have my prose, essays, a whole bunch of unfinished essays, or just titles of essays. This one is just why is it so hard to know anything? Um, yeah, lots of unfinished stuff. Essay. This one's on my Substack. So I keep it relatively organized. This was a short story that I actually just like spoke the whole thing into being and then was trying to like copy back from memory but didn't finish. But I still like know how the story goes. I was really interested for a minute in like verbal tradition and that kind of thing. Um, and like telling stories that I would only tell verbally and not write down. But then I wanted to write it down. um, what was I? What there was Eclipse. We were looking at that one. Back to the poem Eclipse. Yeah. Hello, I'm back. I had to leave for some minutes. Is Obsidian a platform? Yeah, Obsidian is a note-taking platform, and you can get all sorts of plugins. So at its base functionality, it's just these folders and these notes, and then these actually also these like canvases. Um, this is how I'm. This is my workshop in a couple days, and I'm just going to like literally put this on the screen where I'm teaching the workshop and just, go through this entire thing. I don't know why it's not panning. Maybe I need to. Oh, I don't know. Normally it pans to move. Weird. Like instead of a PowerPoint, this is what I'm using. um, for why is some of this stuff like changed? Like the spacing is broken since last night. That's it's really odd. Okay, I'll have to go back and fix that. Oh, this is D&D stuff. I do have a whole D&D section. This is like conlanging. I'm getting so distracted. I'm just showing you guys my cool Obsidian. This is my character for the game that I'm joining. Yasenin Khansak is her name. I made the whole language so that name could have meaning within the world. I'm such a nerd. I agree, man. One cannot simply know something nowadays or ever. I mean, yeah, one cannot know anything. But I was thinking, something I was thinking about is that it's just very hard to learn in the modern day, especially with like AI overviews and like short form content. And it's very hard to like have anything actually stick and be known. And that was very troubling to me. So I wanted to write an essay about it. It's very popular. A lot of people use it because it's simple and to the bone. Yeah. And so Obsidian is very simple, where it's like notes and folders and tags, right? But then you can get plugins. So I have a calendar plugin that creates notes for, you know, my my stuff, right? I have a dentist appointment in my calendar. Today is stream a little early. Go to Ellie's house. Go get dinner with my family for my birthday. This is my day tomorrow with this all this stuff. Poetry workshop, right? I added a plugin for flashcards, which I forgot how to actually access it. That's okay. Oh, I think I closed a thing. Anyway, you can get all sorts of plugins that do extra things, which is very, very cool. And very exciting, right? So that's why Obsidian is excellent. I cannot prove any of this exists. This can open a world of organizing my mind. Yeah, people call this, like, a nickname people have for these programs is digital brains, because they just have so much to help one, like, organize stuff. Where is my... Oh, is it because I'm in full screen that, like, things are weird? I feel like my Obsidian has like randomly reformatted itself. Maybe it updated. I'm not sure. There's There's supposed to be like a bar over at the side, that has been gone for some amount of time, and I just didn't even realize that had disappeared. Um, I would like that back. Actually, I really would like that back. We are getting super distracted. This is how my brain normally works if I just like let myself like talk and do things with other people. Here are all my plugins that I have. Where like it's just a whole mess, you know? Window frame styling title. I want my menu so I can pull up the graph view, but it's gone. Um, this is why I usually need to keep myself like strictly to poetry, because otherwise this happens. And I just go in all different directions. This is like how my mind normally works. I am not organized at all, and this is definitely why I need a thing like this to help me. Um, what? What is it? Whoa, that opens all? That's crazy. What is this button? Not what I'm looking for. Uh, there's supposed to be a navigation bar. Uh, wait, I can just, what is this? Oh, maybe it's trying to update. Isn't it like a search function? I forgot how to search. How do I search? Oh, can I go like, um, that's not helpful. That search is within my notes. Yeah, I give up. We're going to go back to that poem, that Eclipse poem, so I can read it to y'all, because I've been teasing it in front of you guys for some time now. In this one? Eclipse. All right, let me go to chat, though, so I can get distracted again. Control plus O. Okay. I do want to show you all. Is it called Graph View? I don't know how to get to Graph View. Where it shows the whole, like, map. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. Appearance show ribbon. Oh, thank you, Sleepy Librarian. You are saving me. Show ribbon? Show ribbon? See, it is showing the ribbon. But my ribbon is not showing. Oh, ribbon configuration. See, this is what I'm looking for. But my ribbon is not here. Isn't that weird? There's supposed to be the ribbon over here. This is... Because this is not the ribbon. See? Okay. My obsidian's broken. I'm showing you all the beauty of this, janky program, I guess. Here's Eclipse. This is a poem about, this is, fairly sexual, actually. I haven't studied our orbits, nor the histories, but I feel I will be waiting in just the right place on the single day we eclipse, when it all slides gently into darkness. The first darkness that will truly feel warm, a darkness made of light. I will lay in your shadow, touch tracing your edge, while you fill everything in between. As you gracefully slide across me, so gentle we barely touch. And before I've even felt you, away you will drift, leaving a light made of darkness. Light made of darkness, darkness made of light. Kind of cute. This was written for someone. That was definitely in my there was this situationship who I had around this time, and it was like a long distance, it's romantic but it's not romantic kind of thing, and it was a very awkward situation. that led to some catastrophic fallout at the end. So that poem is a memory of that for sure. But I think it's actually a decent poem, and there's something to be said about the fleeting amount of time that we spent together. Could I read it again? Yeah, as you guys can see, there's an ad coming up, but I will read it again. Um, I haven't studied our orbits, nor the histories, but I feel I will be waiting in just the right place on the single day we eclipse, when it all slides gently into darkness, the first darkness that will truly feel warm, a darkness made of light. You can put like some periods here, Heike. I will lay in your shadow, touch tracing your edge, while you fill everything in between, as you gracefully slide across me, so gentle we barely touch. And before I've even felt you, away you will drift, leaving a light made of darkness. Eclipse. I will lay in your shadow. I love. I'm glad. Y'all can dwell on that one for a minute. There's an ad about to start. So I'll come back in a second, and then we can read some more poetry for another, like, I don't know, half hour or something. Maybe something like that. Maybe we can do 45 minutes. Yeah, but I'll be right back. Drink water, take a break, stand up, move. Moving keeps you alive. All that stuff is good. Can I ask perhaps the history specifically? Yeah, we can talk about the poem. But first, there's a break. Hello, hello, hello. Um, Welcome back. It's me. Okay, so can I ask perhaps about the histories? Subtle pattern in orbit nor and just wondering about histories. Histories kind of has this or feel to it, right? Um, Studied our orbits nor the histories, right? Um, I mean, I would love to know what you think I'm referring to when we talk about the histories before I just uh, give away. Sorry, wrong button. Before I just give away that kind of information, right? Because I mean, we do talk about analysis here, and I will certainly allow you the chance to um, be critical and think about this poem. Um, I haven't studied our orbits nor the histories, but I feel I will be waiting in just the right place on the single day we eclipse, right? And I do have a specific idea of what I was saying, right? Um, but I'll give you a chance, right, Catholic, to to have interpretation. I think that's um, a valuable thing, right? Um, I am sort of I enjoy, right. I'm not one of the people who's like, I'm not going to explain my poems, because I enjoy explaining my poems and I enjoy talking about them. But I do think I want to be better about giving people a chance to form their own thoughts and have their own sort of critical interpretation um, of the poem, right? Before I give my input, right? Um, at least that's my thought, because I do also know that there is an immense joy in analysis, in pondering. What does Imogen mean by the histories here? And when you like come to a conclusion, right? I mean, it can be very satisfying. Um, but you know, um, because I enjoy analysis. I also think this poem maybe isn't like the strongest thing. It's not communicating all of its ideas um, extraordinarily well. Um, so I do acknowledge that, right? Um, but I don't know if you have thoughts. The poem can explain the poem. It can, right? Um, Sometimes it's nice to explain it oneself. Um, so I don't know if you come to any thoughts, Kathzik. Definitely feel free to let me know what you think. I will read it again. I don't dislike this. Um, I haven't studied our orbits nor the histories. And maybe one thing is just like there would be a more clear way to say what I'm saying. You also have this like or nor there hister, right? Alliteration. Air histories, air, or our. And then we kind of get this like ow, o, right? Where it kind of like the mouth shape changes throughout this line. And that's kind of like satisfying, right? We go from like, I haven't studied, right? This kind of like harshness, our orbits nor their histories, but, right? It has a nice flow to it. And I think this there is um, useful, right? Like the histories is kind of vague. Their histories, I think it is relating to this like orbit thing, what I'm trying to talk about, right? Um, I really love the darkness made of light. Good juxtaposition is always fun. Um, yeah, so like, and then right, we can see that our orbits right? They have histories, their histories. Um, because by understanding an orbit and the past, we can understand where something is going, right? Um, and then, studied our orbits, kind of the way that we are connected, the way we have distance, their histories, the pasts of them, where they are coming from, and thus where they might go, right? But I feel I will be waiting in just the right place on the single day we eclipse. So we have this feeling of like leaving it up to fate. Very. I think this really describes well like the actually the um, vagueness of our collective understanding of like the sort of relationship slash friendship slash situationship slash whatever it was that we were in, where it's like we don't know where we are and we don't know where we're going, but someday it'll work out. This is very naive when it comes to relationships, I think, right? Um, when it all slides gently into darkness, the first darkness that will truly feel warm. I like warm. I love warm as a word. I use this a lot, just like warm and cold. We see this in a very recent poem I wrote called Glory. Um, um, it's cold even, right? Hotter outside. In spring, it's colder too. Um, I love these like simple, warm, cold, light, dark kind of things. I think they can be quite effective at times. Um, but yeah, a darkness made of light. I will lay in your shadow, touch tracing your edge while you fill everything in between. And this is like an eclipse, right? Um, you know, I am the sun, they are the moon, right? The touch of the sun traces the edge of the moon. The moon fills the middle with darkness as you gradually slide across me so gentle we barely touch. Um, while also, being incredibly like physically sensual, right? This is me yearning for like the day that we finally meet in person and I can like uh sort of right like touch this person who I've been like digitally attracted to at this point. Um and before I've even felt you, away you will drift, leaving a light made of darkness. And I mean, I wonder if this is sort of poetic that now we have drifted from each other in such a way that it is over, right? Um, we will not eclipse again in our lifetimes, perhaps. That's kind of very poetic thing, right? Um, the first two lines are interesting. I want to know how that develops. Naive, but oh so real and valid. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, like, right. I haven't studied our orbits nor their histories. And I was really thinking. I do remember thinking, right, about right this sort of confidence when you study, when you like what like we can think about this question: what would happen if I had studied our orbits? If I did know, right, in some capacity, going to like the eclipse metaphor, right? I would know when the eclipse will happen because there is this like certainty, this scientific sort of knowledge. An eclipse will happen at this day and this time, right? But I haven't. I feel, right? I have this feeling I'll be waiting in just the right place on the single day we eclipse. Like I'll just happen to be there, like almost suggesting, that I in some way believe that this like romance is fated, right? It's just gonna happen. It's gonna work out. It's gonna be perfect. God, so incredibly naive, right? Because it was not. And the lack of definition and understanding we had of each other, ironically, is the reason our situationship and ultimately our friendship like entirely collapsed, and I no longer interact with this person. So, um, it's really funny to like look at a poem like this in retrospect, um, because like, oh, like sweet summer child, my version of that unmet lover. Let's see, finding our destination. When we finally meet, yep, when we finally eclipse. Um, Bro, is it gonna make me like, oh, do not consent to cookies, never. When we finally meet, take it slow, so you may write the guidebook of me. Spend time with my eyes, inking pale blue skies into verse you may visit when you long for the sea. Trace each corner of my mouth, the curve kissed by Cupid, and a full pout you can pull into giddy smiles with your thumb. Place your hand upon my pulse, chart its rhythm dancing, a tango on my sternum, count the steps against your palm. Is it weird that I do this when I read? I like go through and highlight things as I go. It's like reading with my finger, which sometimes I also do still. Feel the edges of my waist, following the divot as it raises, into the mountains of my hips, stopping there for a moment to rest. My pages open, ready for your ink. These are like incredibly similar poems. That's really funny, right, Nikki? Like you're using this like land guidebook sort of writing thing going on, right? And then it sort of like also becomes this like sensual act. Um and then I'm doing the same thing. It's just like with this like extended eclipse metaphor. This should be capitalized. This fixing things. Um Different metaphors, same outlook. Yeah. Hi, Bike Kiosk. Happy birthday. Thank you. We're like reading some of my poetry and just kind of yapping and having a chill stream. Um, I think we can move on from Eclipse. Uh, Talk about something else. This is sort of an era I want to depart from. um, Although there might be other interesting. I mean, like, we could just go through my old poetry, like, for so long, right? Um, Green. Tomorrow, if tomorrow and today blended like blue and yellow into something new and distinctly not green, would this all feel less colorful? Did the color ever change? At least I know I'm missing that yellow. Well, so nonsensical. I like it. Like I think it's quite pretty in its nonsensicality and just colors. Um, I actually um there's something. Um, I don't know. I forgot. Held close. That's that's just another one of those poems. Hold me jeez, man. Uh My skin were a pristine mirror, would you know to see yourself? I love this title. I do remember writing this title. This was the day before my birthday last year. Um Oh, yeah, this poem. What does this say? He told me I was beautiful and I thanked him, but I wish he knew at twice my age what I meant when I said he was still young, that he has all the time in the world. He works for a flooring company. Wood, sometimes laminate, hard work. I am more interested than he. But that's fair. He must feel inanimate, working for probably 20 years, probably being told he's inadequate. No wonder his knees are stiff. They hold so much weight. All while stooping low, laying planks, it is honest work. It was honest work. Yesterday. I see it in his face. He listened when they said, "Your life is a waste." I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. Have a nice day, miss. You're beautiful. Thank you. Right. That one's okay. Um, it does some like presuming into his life, presuming into his life, based on like a few small things I said in this interaction with a guy. Um, but it's all right. It could be a little more empathetic, I think. Sounds like a reply to Yellow from Coldplay, right? Yeah. I heart you all, poets. Peace out. Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, thank you for coming by, Catholic. Bye bye. Um, yeah, the green poem very much sounds like Coldplay Yellow. I think that's fair. A man lives in a house on the right side of Main Street and a woman on the left, and it is wrong. They love each other, and we can't live apart. Interesting. Don't like that one. Ah, prayer for the death of a candle. So all at once and only now your light has ended. No wick remains. To your warmth still lingering in the air I cling, melting in your embrace, and you will let go. To cold you fade, but on you live, rebirthed in every flame. That's cute. It's like it gets a little verse-like at the end. It's kind of weird. Wrote this one on my birthday too. Let's go into another era, another month. Get out of this notebook. Go into this one. This one has some bangers, maybe. Maybe. This was written for my typewriter. That's kind of cute. I peer into the inside of a typewriter and see myself reflected in the 100 screws somehow holding it all together. Resolute, like they know that if anyone fails, the whole machine might seize. And I still have the gall to take my screwdriver and twist, adjust, see what falls out, what lies deeper. I find a spring adding tension for a reason I can't say, and wonder when I should stop all this tinkering. Let that old coil rest, because the machine is working. And at the end of the day, I still have to type this poem. I actually have this poem typed out on that typewriter. It's on my wall. I do like this one a lot. I'm not sure it's like, yeah, it's clever. It's very clever. This 100 screws somehow holding it all together, right? I'm reflected in it. Still have the gall to like adjust things, right? And this is me, right? Me, the typewriter. See what falls out. Finding tension for no reason inside of my body, right? And then this idea, if it works, it works. If I work, I work. Maybe I shouldn't. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing, right? Expanded onto a whole poem. It's clever. Oh, my aunt once brought an old 1930s typewriter to us, and I wrote a poem out on it. I wrote back then. Looked pretty cool. Yeah, I think typewriter typing looks great. When I have a friend who I send letters to, and when I send them poetry with my letters, I like to type them out on the typewriter for them. And this is my typewriter. It's back there, actually, right behind. I don't know if it's visible on camera. Right here, on top of the desk back here. That is my typewriter. My Coronet Super 12, as the title of the poem would suggest. Yeah. I really should figure out this sharing my screen thing where I have a way to see chat. That would be so awesome. I wish I could see it. Caretaker. This one's for mom and dad. I think that's what the dedication should be. Oh, yeah, final for mom and dad. Um, this one's like heavy, I think. I know it is. It's heavy for me. I won't be ready when you leave. You'll slip out the door without warning, a thief taking it all, folding into the night. I will be left to roam a cleared out house, and I will notice a forgotten stain left by the stove, lingering evidence even you missed. No matter how many tears I shed, I won't quite wash you away. Wandering on, the trace of a folded corner reveals your final page. I will read and wonder, at what word did you stop? Why did you stop? Why did you stop? I scour the page for clues. I make meaning where there is no meaning. Your last underline, it tells me in code, keep moving, keep reading, turn the page, and I will finish the chapter. I will scrape off the stains and fill my home with all that is mine to take. Caretaker. I love this. Why did you stop? Why did you stop? You know, really reinforcing the double meaning. And I've done a lot of like preemptive grieving for the people in my life who will die. Like I've been doing that as far back as when I was like 6 years old, when I like realized what death was, and I would lay in my bed and I would cry because I knew that someday like my parents would die. And this poem is really like the poetic nod to doing that as a kid, right? I've written a few poems about my family too, even though they have no clue I write. Yeah, I think there is something beautiful about giving people poetry. This is going further back. Actually, when was this? That wasn't no. It's before. It's older than all of this. It's for Sophie, which is for my sister. Straight up titled it that. Did I take it off of here? No. This was really a poem for her. The mountains don't do much, but the valley just won't do. The valley and her smooth-haired sages and her circle-tracked doers, they talk and talk, never soothe, never saying what they do. And the mountains don't move much. Not like the sea moves. The sea and her glassy-eyed seers, they peer, pour another peer, always ready to move, never moving you. They say, the mountains don't know much. See, the city knows you, and the roads too, but the roads are cruel and crawl, and the city and her people live to sprawl, so the city can't know you. But the man on the mountain told me to just sit by the sea. And Sophie is very much a wandering type. She's like currently in Spain right now. Actually, she might be in like Prague or something. And always going places, has this wanderlust, you know. So like the mountains don't do much, the valley won't do, the sea, also doesn't work, right? The city doesn't work. And she's always like looking for something, some other place, right? I wrote one about my brother who passed away that my mother will never see. Hmm. That that message is laden with many implications, it seems, which it sounds like there's a lot there, right? But I like this poem. It's nice. I like this. It's got the hashtag. But that one wasn't actually in the last year. Caretaker. I will always be afraid of shuddering like the stars, unable to run as the storm rolls in. If I am anything like the night's suns, I will let the dark wade in and shine at its pass. It's a thought. It's a thought. Moving on. May? What was I doing in May? I was beginning again, apparently. View? There? I have some typos in these, of course. Beginnings again, actually. Oh, this is something. This was me, like, really, like, stream of consciousness free associating. I was doing this for a minute during this time. Same with, water weight is similar. There was a logic in it. On the first day of class, when the sunshine faced everything's drifted over the gate, standing to guard only open water. They said to act is perfection, that here you will learn to swim but never dance on the waves of conjecture. Conjecture it was and is as I stare into the sun and think I have returned to that threshold, to the very first day. And I wrote a lot of these just like really flowing, sort of rambly kind of poems. Mothers and fathers and others and doves flit between the canyon walls of calculating natural erosion, while the words seem only to live in the water, a never intelligible metal tasted rush, a rush that carries everything away, while somehow smoothing the sides of it, wearing away the moments, minding its own business existence until it cannot stop. And then it can, because the dove drinks and the mother drinks and the others and even the father too, even though they carry their own weight in water, and what is one's own is worth its weight in gold. But life all wants for life and watches itself flow and drinks and bathes, and that all remains. And all that remains is carried out to sea. It's something I was doing. A lot of just like, you know, that was a period of my life. I wrote a pretty heavy piece about my mom who had cancer, how it felt to get that news. Never sharing that one either. Also one about my first hospital visit to her. I have one poem about cancer. Mom beat the sickness, called growing out of control. That makes her stronger, I guess, than all those rich men. Very simple, political, honestly, right? In a small capacity. 'Cause she beat that shit. She crushed it. 'Cause she's the GOAT. Mine was for the writing prompt favorite child, and my grief definitely crept in. I bet. Yeah. Writing really is such a wonderful medium to sort out complicated feelings. Yeah. I mean, it gives you the space and the time to just like think and kind of unpack these things and you know, express, right? It's like talk therapy, but no one has to hear it, right? And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Paper wings. This is very Mary Oliver. Unsurprisingly, I like Mary Oliver. I will never try to catch butterflies in their paper wings. I couldn't bear the weight of the poor child wishing, crying out to use her body. For what it is made, let her wings write their own story, I say. A red rose, a redder brick, a chain link fence, and then she's coming to me. What an honor to be chosen. I think a butterfly landed on me. Butterflies land on me. It seems often. At least maybe just because I'm someone who has the capacity to sit still for a long time. But it definitely has some lingering effects still. At least she ain't dying. Yeah, my mom got her immunotherapy like attacked her pancreas, and now she has type 1 diabetes, which super sucks. But she's alive and well, so that's good. I'm making art like a champion. Narcissus. Our graveyard. Not reading that one. Good Wine is a sort of breakup poem, I guess. It's okay. I've read it before on stream. Breathe. This was also for my younger sister. I wrote this for her when she was like going off on a big trip to India to get certified as a yoga teacher at some like ashram. That's pretty cool that she did that. I thought I, a poet, pulled my words from the bottom of a hat, all full of color, all life and mystery, mystified as the audience, not in on the trick. I was thinking at this time a lot about, I think, like, how I was writing poetry and being sort of like surprised, you know, at like the things I would write and not understanding where my words came from. Broken pH meter, just passing through. Happy birthday. Thank you for the gifted sub. That has been gifted to Nikki. That's dope. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's quite a good birthday. You know, day after my birthday. So yeah, thank you. Trading for is watching, wish giving. I've written so much. I've written so much in the last year. Genuinely sort of baffling looking back as I go through all of this. Like it is overwhelming. Just how much. This is an interesting poem. This one's heavy. I've written a lot. Like kind of strange because I don't feel like I write a lot, you know. I just do my life and I put words on the page, right? I rarely look back at what I wrote. I just cringe. I mean, I'm finding myself, like, in some of these cases, pleasantly surprised. Usually it's just about getting myself to read them, you know? But sometimes there are, like, technical things where I'm obviously experimenting with rhyme or alliteration. I'm like, wow, this is excessive and bad. But, you know, that's, like, process, right? You saw its fragile stem just taking root, taking color, taking its time. Here's this repetition thing that I like to do a lot. And you saw that perfect being and decided she must change. You took your trellis and locked her inside. You began to tend her tender body, taking with each touch, tying her to your technology. You never once acknowledged me. Trimming each leaf, sending delicate hopes of growth back to the soil. This is almost like slam-y, like a short slam poem in a way. And when he saw her soiled stems suspended from his shrine of lies, strung to his scaffold with nothing left to give, nothing left to take, he took the trellis away, left her to lay with her decomposing dreams, her disintegrating leaves, pleas heard only by the dirt. Does it hear me? Does it want to change me too? What trellises hide among my roots? I feel him. Why do I feel him? He's taking from the bottom of my fragile being, guiding my growth grafted to my soul, and I can't see him. How will I ever be free? I would say I am free. This man does not so much bother my mind anymore, though I struggled a bit. How's it going? It's going good, Ishmael. We're just hanging out. I'm reading my poetry for like the next 20 minutes and stuff. Life's good. It's good to have a chill stream. Enjoying that it's my birthday yesterday. Today and yesterday. It's my combined 2-day birthday event. We have very different styles, but man, our voices have a lot of overlap. Yeah. We do write similarly, Nikki. In many ways. This poem is good to like perform. Maybe I could read this at one of the open mics at the festival. I need a tag for like things that would be good to perform. You know, like this is a good poem. Oh, I have spoken. Do I have anything in hashtag spoken? Yeah, those aren't good, but they are spoken. Okay. Starting a new tag in my Obsidian for things that are good for spoken performance. Because that would be helpful. Happiest of level up days. Yes, I've leveled up. I've made it another year. I'm still so young and naive to the world, though. I am still just like 21 and have no idea about anything. Lavender. Home is in the Substack article, so I won't read it. Lavender, this is another one about that situationship, because this thing dragged on all the way until like September. This is fine. I haven't asked because I am afraid of what I do not know, but now I stare at a time capsule full of names I've learned to not remember, and as they rush in, fear rips into me. I feel myself drowning in the past. I let the paralysis of what was pull me under, and the pressure only swells until blue goes black. I float in the ink that writes the end and beginning of every story. Black and white static overwhelms me. All I have here, the colors and smells and souls of the inside of my mind, of the flower that tastes like yesterday, teaches me that the ocean always has a wave waiting, and I cannot know when it will reach me. I read it like that because that's how it felt. It was just like emotional overload. Basically, like, we had this like sort of argument where we weren't like talking, and we were like friend breakup / situationship break. It was a mess. And then, but they had sent me a letter, and the letter arrived and like reminded me of them. This, you know, time capsule full of names I've learned to not remember. I like this line, names I've learned to not remember. I like this of the flower that tastes like yesterday. I like, and this is the thing about looking at old poems, Sleepy Librarian, right? You say like you cringe, but oftentimes there are at least things to extract, you know? Like I don't think I like, you know, some of this stuff, or some of this maybe, um, but there are things within the poem, right, that are kind of dope. I don't think I've been writing long enough to see the evolution yet. Yeah, it's a time thing, right? And like, these poems are from 7 months ago, uh, and they're like pretty different from the modern stuff. But if I looked like 3 months back, like Body Politic, Goodbye Goodnight, these are things that are still very close to my current style. Monsters, um, To God is a little angry, but it's pretty representative. If I go back to the oldest poems, which is a 2 year, just 230 poems, sort of unsorted, um, there's some like things here that I really dislike. But like probably, honestly, probably everything in here. Right, this is 230 poems. Uh, are things I don't even want to open. This is interesting. This is the first poem I ever wrote, though. So that one I'm willing to show. Um, but like a lot of these are just me figuring shit out, and it takes a long time, right? Um, you know, there was a lot. um, yeah, but it takes time. That's the point. Um, where were we? We were around here. We were around Trellis, which was in this one, right? Uh, this one's kind of pretty, but not very good. Sun City. I like this poem. I'm still young. Yeah, if you're young, you've got plenty of time. Um, you know, we think of people like Pablo Neruda. I think he wrote more than 10,000 poems in his life. Um, and if you love writing and you love poetry, or it's just the way you express, and you're just writing poetry often, then, I mean, think about it. Like, if you're young, you might have 50 years of poetry ahead of you, on and off, or consistently. Um, I write about 200 poems a year, it seems, ish, or I wrote 200 poems in the last year. If I do that for 50 years, I will have written 10,000 poems by like the time I am 72, which is crazy to think about, right? And I'm not sure I will keep up that pace. I'm not sure I'm quite up for that. But like, as young people, we are just like so very, we are like little saplings. We are barely sprouting out of the seed, in terms of our art. I get it around 50, and I'm not very consistent. Yeah. And whether or not that consistency is something you change in 10 years, that's 500 poems, right? Like it accumulates so incredibly over time, where, if you just keep doing it, right, you get better, you improve, you learn things. It's just, and there are things one can do to become more consistent, right? For me, it's definitely my journals, right? Obviously, by having these things, I write a lot of poems and also have a way to keep them organized. But there's something, right? This journal I can always have in my pocket. I can take it with me wherever I go. And so often I'm on the bus and I just write a couple poems because it's a great place to write. Or I'm at a friend's house, and I have an idea and I'm like, hold on, I'm just going to write a poem, at the park, doing something, doing anything, out on a hike, I'm gonna write a poem. I mean, if you are like at work, right, which I don't work because I'm fortunate, um, you can just like there's space, there's time to notice things, to write in between, as long as you like give yourself the chance to. To me, it's like always giving oneself the opportunity um, to do that. Some weeks I write every day. Some weeks I only do my Wednesday writing prompts. Particularly bad weeks, I may not even do that one. Yeah, and that's okay, right? My girlfriend recently reminded me I have 65 posted poems on Instagram, and I was shocked. That's really awesome. Yeah, right. They accumulate without us even knowing, and then it becomes genuinely overwhelming. And that's where you get famous and then have scholars to do the work of going through all of it for you and creating anthologies of, you know, the essential works of Imogen Lin or whatever someday. No dead end signs here. Sun City, June 13th, 3:22 p.m. I like this title a lot. No dead end signs here. All roads curve liminally left in subliminal suggestion that there is no end. I've been stuck, taking the roundabout way. I'm done watching the sun trace her perfect circles as I stick to the pavement, still calling myself a bird. I am dead. A perfect circle. I am death, a no outlet sign, a piece of metal that keeps me from getting out. I can't get it out of my head. I can't give me a sign. Give me a sign. Give me an outlet, or just give me the dead end. Sun City, June 13th, 3:22. I was biking around in Las Vegas in like the middle of the day. It's like 110 degrees, and I'm like stuck genuinely in this like giant section of Vegas called Sun City. Sun City Summerlin, that has like this big old like golf course and like country club and all these houses, and it's basically like a giant subdivision where like there are like two ways in and out, and I could not find my way back to like how to get out of this place, and it felt like everything was in this like giant roundabout circle liminal space of suburban hell. And I wanted to die. It was the worst experience ever. I hated it. I hate suburbia. I have 485 posted on All Poetry. That's dope, Nikki. That's awesome. Big money. I think I have like 25 of them on my site and a bunch of scraps lying around. Yeah, everyone has a different process, right? Like having a website is different from having an All Poetry and Instagram, right? I don't really post any of this stuff. But I have an Obsidian with 501 files in this one. Some of them are categorized. And there's some other things. I guess there's the fragments. 534 poems, 35. But like no one sees a lot of them. Yeah. At my first post, I had small panic attacks to even click the post button. Yeah, it's incredibly hard, right? To put your work out there, to share it, and any way that you choose to share your art and choose to like get it out into the world is really impressive and really admirable, and I will never stop saying this, right? That it's really admirable to share the poetry to stream. It's really admirable to post it, to do all that. I have an amazing girlfriend supporting me. That's awesome, right? And having someone to help you move in that direction. And you'll also know that I think a lot of the people in our community, right, are very supportive of the creation, the sharing of art, but also doing so healthfully and in a way that it's safe and somewhat compassionate, right? I have one called 20 Below about being stuck behind a clunker going 20 below the speed limit. That's that sounds fun, right? Uh, Nikki wants all of your art. Um, yeah. If I have a website, I would almost consider just like having my Obsidian automatically just like go onto the website. Um, I'm not sure. Well, and I don't, so it doesn't matter, right? This is a slam poem. I will not be doing slam right now. I don't have that kind of energy. I mean, I could do sad. I can do sad. So I'm talking to my shrink. I'm at the appointment, and I'm telling her, I get tired in winter. Sometimes a little manic, a little jittery in the summer, and she tells me there's a diagnosis for that. And the diagnosis, she says, is seasonal affective disorder. So I go home, look in my DSM-5. It's on pages 114 and 113, but the book is full of shit, so I tear the pages in two and write myself a new diagnosis with one less word. I am seasonally affected. What I mean is, I feel less rested. When comes September, the sun stops sending warming embers to my mornings. When I realize I'm mourning, the orange disguise is worn by the leaves. I'm affected. When the world is dying, it's writhing, and the writhing gives way to wilting, wilting to withering, withering to winter, and in winter's whisper, I swear I hear crying. But mostly I hear the cold in my muffled steps and breath freezing like steam. I'm affected by the cold. Then, by the thaw, the thimble of thermal return, then torn open clouds of fire reborn. The sun, it's all up for me and the seeds. We're affected, making plans, making plants, pulling weeds, showing teeth again, growing back to speed. It all smells so free. We careen into summer's blazing heat. I burn, affected for one fleeting season, and then the trees reset the stage to perform their change again in perfect order. In the same order. Diagnosis says seasonal affective disorder, like it is normal to ignore my nature because the psychiatrist only cares about getting me back to labor for a billionaire who only loves Mother Earth if he can rape her from pole to equator, suck out all the flesh while the peasants push paper, listen to doctor's orders, pop a pill in order to earn some leaves that always stay green, and orders from plastic decor unaffected by the seasons. It never loses its sheen. Their order is another week, another week, another week, another week on repeat in brutal order over and over until the mind is weak, full of disorder. No seasons. No affect. I can't accept that. So I'll give up billing for tilling, plastic for planting, tender for tending, cheap things for reaping. I'll gladly slow down and speed up with the leaves because I can't live by someone else's order, when by mine theirs would be the one defined as, diagnosed as, seasonal affective disorder. That's a fun poem to read. It's a really fun. Slam is very fun. I've not done much slam since I wrote that one. I wrote maybe like one slam poem since then. I had two for that slam that I competed at. It was really fun to do that on stage. That needs to go with hashtag spoken. Yeah, that's definitely a spoken performance kind of affair, right? Sometimes I forget that I have it spoken. Okay. I think it hits a lot harder. Yeah, it definitely hits spoken much more than on the page. And I put it in the Substack, and I'm like, oh, this is like a slam poem. It's not exactly. It's the place it wants to be. Anyway, that's all for the poetry today. I have to get going pretty soon, because I'm gonna go sit in my friend's house, who they're turning into sort of the thing I was talking about earlier. um, a communal space for working on art together, and we are going to co-work, and I'm going to work on my workshop and the handouts for my workshop, and I am going to get shit done, is the plan, basically, which is super dope. It's actually a super brave poem. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? It is a very like confessional mental health. Uh, Here's my weird way of seeing the world. Down with the system. Anti-psychiatry, which is often an unpopular opinion, but I am very anti-psychiatry generally, with some nuance, with some asterisks on the end. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to read. It's fast. There are definitely some parts of that, even that like I would like to like I like to go just as fast as I can, right? Only cares about getting me back to labor for a billionaire who only loves Mother Earth if he can rape her from pole to equator, suck out all the flavor while peasants push papers, listen to doctor's orders, pop a pill in order to earn some leaves that always stay green and order plastic, right? Like, just like full on letting loose with that one. There's another slam poem. I don't know where it is or what it's called. I have no idea like where. Oh, the second sixth day. I have this one line. A divine risk, a chance of sin, a day 6, an apparition, nearing perfection, an imminent image in an image, and intelligence is imitation, an artificial Eden. That's like the closest I've ever gotten to just straight up rapping. An apparition nearing perfection, an imminent image in an image, in intelligence is imitation, an artificial Eden. I love saying that. Like I can stim on that all day. An imminent image in an image, in intelligence is imitation, an artificial Eden. Right? Slam can be very fun for the techniques of language. Really stoked. Maybe I'll end up writing another slam poem sometime soon, now that it's like back in my head. They can be fun, obviously. I have fun with them sometimes. I think I struggle with like clarity sometimes. Like I go too abstract, right? Sometimes, and too fast. Cool, good luck. I'll probably sleep soon. Been a little sick lately. Yeah, get your rest. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure you're eating. All of that stuff. Yeah. Thank you all for coming by the stream today. I really appreciate your presences. Yeah. It's been good. We'll be back tomorrow night for collage stream, unless I have like absolutely no energy tomorrow after music practice, but I want to stream tomorrow. Stream on Saturday will be canceled because I am performing jazz and getting paid for it, which is super cool. So yeah, that's all for me. Many thanks. I've been Imogen. I'm now 22. Big. I'm old. But that means I have many years ahead of me to keep making art I love, and y'all better keep making art you love too. Bye.